If a sandwich was delivered, well, it could help to establish the time of death.
Well, that's just about the best intro I've ever heard. Hey everyone, Pushing Up Roses here, and welcome to another thrilling episode of That Time on Murder, She Wrote. Today we're looking at a wonderfully cheesy episode titled Corned Beef and Carnage from Season 3, which I think is the greatest Murder, She Wrote title I've ever heard. It certainly intrigued me enough to watch the episode right away. This one is fun because it takes place outside the show's dominant setting of Cabot Cove and at a cutthroat marketing agency in New York. Jess is visiting one of her many vague nieces and her husband, played by Jeff Conway, who was in a previous episode as the same character, Howard Griffin. I have stopped trying to understand Jessica's family tree a long time ago. At this point, I'm convinced that she's related to every single person in the world. Oh, and remember this guy from Something Borrowed, Someone Blue? Yeah, the creepy uncle.
I need to cool off my hot blood.
He's also in this episode, though thankfully as a different character. Ooh, Kincaid. Oh, Kincaid, right. We begin our story with a marketing campaign for corned beef castles. There's some legalese happening here, with ad man Larry Kincaid trying to impress Grover Barth, owner of said meat castles. His name is Grover Barth? Larry wants to keep this client, but Barth is on the fence about renewing, so this sleaze bucket puts his account executive, Victoria, on offer.
Beautiful blouse, Victoria. Just kind of sets off that peaches and cream complexion.
That tie really sets off your garbage face. Her boss is concerned that Barf. I just said barf. God damn, I'm losing it. Her boss is concerned that Barth won't renew, so he wants her to sit next to him at lunch, despite her having plans with her Aunt Jess and husband Howard. Unfortunately, she is pressured to go. Jess and Howard meet up with Victoria and run into another employee named Aubrey. He has some dry things to say about the company.
Am I right in assuming that you're the resident cynic, Mr. Thornton?
Well, I would be, but I don't have tenure.
Or good fashion sense. He looks like a well-dressed candy cane. Jessica is very impressed with her niece's career.
You're gonna have to bring me up to speed on life in the fast lane.
Well, it'll surely make you lose your mind. Victoria plans to meet up with Jess and Howard later and goes to lunch with Barth and his wife, played by Marsha Wallace of Bob Newhart fame. Larry assures them he's going to scrap the former presentation and show them something new and exciting.
I guess we'll be working together a lot.
I wish I were dead.
$50 million a year in advertising billing. Leland, that isn't chopped liver.
Well, no, it's money, my dear. This is Christine Clifford and her boss Leland from a competing marketing company named Biddle, which I think is an adorable name. Aw, Biddle, the Whittle marketing company. Leland wants her to steal the corned beef client away from Larry Kincaid, and if she does, she'll get a raise and the title of director. Meanwhile, Jess and Howard spend some quality time together, and he laments that his acting career isn't going well and that Victoria might leave him.
I love her so much. I feel like she's slipping away from me.
Okay, dude, reel it in. Larry's brother Myron, who also works for Kincaid Advertising, tells him that the company is in major debt and that the Corned Beef Castle's account owe them a significant amount of money for unpaid media bills. Aubrey comes in and is upset that he's no longer on the Corned Beef Castle's account, and Victoria quits after she's told to go to dinner with Barth. Basically, this guy just exploded the entire company and is losing his mind.
Get out of here, all of you!
And then the saxy music kicks in.
Mr. Kincaid.
Hello, do you like my shoulder pads?
I need to cool off my hot blood.
Ah, yes, let me just put this confidential information right here in plain sight. Dressed up like a grape-flavored Fanta, Christine uses her female prowess to pose as somebody wanting to study under Kincaid, saying Biddle is creatively barren. Unable to resist her grimace-inspired power suit, he tells her to set up an appointment so he can look over her portfolio. If you know what I mean. As they are leaving, she pretends to forget her purse and swipes the secret file. Wow, who could have seen that coming? Nice lamp. Anyway, after getting a message that Howard won't be getting the part in the commercial he had auditioned for, Victoria decides to keep her job and goes back to the office to talk to Larry. So this guy is dead? Larry Kincaid, death by miniature Washington monument. The detective on the case is immediately suspicious of Victoria, even though she had only been there for 2 seconds before she found his body.
Mr. Griffin, she work late a lot?
What the hell's that supposed to mean?
It means she's a slut, Mr. Griffin. I thought I was being pretty clear with that one. Jess shows up as well, immediately investigating.
Curious. That corned beef sandwich.
Think it's still good, or? Jess implies that because there is a fresh sandwich on the desk, that someone must have been to the office before Victoria arrived, and that they should check the security guard's sign-in sheet.
I came on duty at 6 o'clock after the receptionist leaves.
Why is he speaking and staring like a noir hard-boiled character? I'd never done a crazy thing in my life before that night. They see Mr. Barth on the sheet.
Oh, Mr. Barth is a client. Mr. Corned Beef Castles.
Mr. Corned Beef Castles of the New England Corned Beef Castles? Even though there is a delivery man and an interior decorator named Mary Jones on the sheet, this smug-ass detective keeps inquiring about Victoria.
Well, he said that she had something to settle with Mr. Kincaid.
Yep, you hear that? Basically a confession. Good news, since Myron is Larry's only living relative, he inherits the business. Aubrey tells Victoria that they still have a shot at saving the account, having read some of her amazing ideas that were in that confidential folder. Yay, everyone is keeping their jobs! But this also means everyone has a motive for braining Larry. Christine wants to steal the account, Aubrey wants to be back on the account, and Myron wants to take over the business. During dinner, Christine shows up to talk to Victoria, saying she's heard wonderful things about her work.
I hate to short stroke this.
That's what she said. Thank you. That was my best joke. Christine says that her boss, Leland, wants her to join Biddle Advertising. She seems interested, but says she feels committed to the Kincaid agency. Christine says she can talk to her boss about a higher offer and takes off.
JB, love your product.
I love how cutthroat the writers made these advertisers. As if it wasn't obvious enough, they just had to have this character call Jessica's book a product. Wonderful. Jess looks at her business card and recognizes her name from the sign-in sheet she looked at earlier. The detective interrupts their dinner and arrests Victoria for murder, despite not looking into any other suspect. Jessica says she wants to review the sign-out sheet, saying that even though the time of death was 9, he could have been lingering there for a while and was maybe killed earlier.
Terrific. Let's take a look at the sign-out sheet.
Jesus, this guy has anger issues. What is your damage, sir? He goes over the names, saying there was an interior decorator there at 7 named Mary Jones, who no one has heard of.
We're checking her out.
Sure, Jan. And they haven't even looked into the delivery driver for the sandwich. This guy is really one of the worst detectives I've seen on the show, and there have been some doozies. Jess insists that he look into whoever delivered the sandwich. It was delivered at 8, but untouched at 9:15, and she wants to know why. Like, look at it. How can one resist?
I'll give you 24 hours.
What? Why is he giving her, this untrained person, 24 hours? Dude, just do your job. During her snooping and using only her cunning, Jessica figures out that there is no Mary Jones, there is no interior decorator. That was just an alias Christine used when she went back to the office to return the confidential file. Jess is also told by Aubrey that he fired the security guard. Meanwhile, at Corned Beef Castles, yes, Grover Barth is opening a new location. Jessica attends the ceremony so she can interrogate Barth, mentioning what a tragedy Kincaid's death was.
I understand that you were the last one to see him alive. Except for the murder, of course.
The shade of it all.
I always knew when Mr. Kincaid was going to work late. You see,
I could tell by the cigarette smoke snaking through the doorframe, the dim light of his office peeking through the bottom, the smell of his cologne. Jess tries to figure out which deli the sandwich came from, perhaps somewhere close to the office, but the guard doesn't know.
no idea. I always brought my own lunch.
I'm a big boy! At home, Howard gets ready for an audition for a new commercial. He tells Jess it's for Biddle Advertising and he is to meet Christine Clifford, which obviously piques Jess, so she decides to go with him. I mean, yeah, bring a famous author to your audition. I feel like that can't hurt anything. The tape is fine. Little cardboardy. But Christine and Leland love it and want to hire him, as long as he brings Victoria on board. Jess asks if one of the strings on the steel is the Corned Beef Castles account, then shades Christine to hell and back, saying she is so fascinated by how chummy everyone is with each other.
According to Larry Kincaid's appointment calendar, you went to see him in his office at 4 o'clock the day that he was murdered.
She also says that she knows she was posing as Mary Jones and that the police may feel Christine could have a motive for killing Larry. She panics and admits to borrowing the confidential folder. While returning it, she said that Kincaid was already dead when she got there, which is confounding and probably something she should have told the police just a tad bit earlier. This means that somebody got the time of death wrong. Leland is also questioned, where he explains he's no longer interested in the corned beef account as the Barths filed for bankruptcy, though that doesn't mean much since Kincaid was killed before he knew that. Regardless, he says he has an alibi. He was having dinner with Aubrey Thornton at Francois.
Francoise.
Oh yes, of course, on the ground floor of Mr. Kincaid's building.
Jess is absolutely savage in this episode. She is out to get everyone. He says they never left the table, only a few seconds to make a call at the bar, which the bartender could account for. Unfortunately, since Corned Beef House went bankrupt, Howard's commercial job is off the table.
I can always get my old job back at the insurance company.
What about your career?
All I ever really wanted was you.
Okay, and Jess is right there, guys. Luckily, she is interrupted by pizza.
Large pastrami and sausage.
Who puts pastrami on a pizza? Get out of here.
It's anchovy and olive.
Not much better. Jess decides to go out to try to find the deli that sent the pizza to get away from the PDA.
I won't be back till late.
Feel free to bone. In a strange turn of events, Jess does find the deli.
Nobody delivered it. The guy called and canceled the order.
The security guard insists that he did not lie about the delivery man and that he came by wearing gloves and dark glasses, implying a disguise. Jess rhetorically asked the detective why somebody would wear dark glasses at night.
Are you telling me that Kincaid was killed by some delivery man?
Oh, detective, that's not the takeaway from that. Jessica has a suspicion that Aubrey was involved, but the guard doesn't recognize him. Jess posits that while Leland Biddle was on the phone at the bar during their dinner, Aubrey had a sandwich ready to go, put on a disguise, and took the express elevator up to the penthouse, which was commented on earlier in the episode.
Part of the privilege of overpaying for the penthouse suite. You get your own elevator.
Alright, this is where the episode loses me completely. Aubrey is denying everything, saying he doesn't recognize the security guard, and that's when Jess has her epiphany.
How did you know that that man sitting out there was a security guard, Mr. Thornton?
Wait, what? This drove me absolutely bonkers for a few days because, yeah, he knows he's a security guard. He's the one that fired him. This isn't a revelation. This isn't a gotcha moment. I think the episode was trying to say since Aubrey always leaves the office early, he wouldn't have seen the guard unless he were there at night, but we already know that Aubrey was the one who fired him, so it just doesn't make sense to me. I know the episode is implying that Aubrey did this via a phone call, but there's just no way I believe he's never seen this security guard ever. It's just too absurd. Still, this is enough to get Aubrey to confess.
You get suckered by one little mistake.
Yes, one little mistake of violent murder. Aubrey explains that Kincaid cheated and humiliated him and had been planning his demise for months. He even says that he used Larry's award for advertising on purpose, just to make a point.
But nice touch. You think?
Sir, we're not going to compliment you on your murdering skills. Okay, final thoughts. Strange writing aside, this was a pretty fun episode of Murder, She Wrote, though the characters really did all the heavy lifting here. The conclusion is some of the dodgiest shit I've ever heard in a whodunit. Sometimes I wonder how these were written. Did the writers come up with an ending first, last, or did they just see the whole picture? Sometimes the solution to these stories are just so lazy, I gotta know how they were formulated. Jess is her usual shady self. I liked seeing Jeff Conway here and this woman's 80s power suit. It was a lot of cheesy fun with good acting and a bumbling detective with a seriously short fuse. I recommend it for the title alone. Maybe get a snack before watching it because the constant talk of food may make you hungry. If you have an episode of Murder, She Wrote you are dying to see me cover, please leave a suggestion in the comments, and until next time, happy sleuthing. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching my video on Murder, She Wrote, Corned Beef, and Carnage, which is still the greatest episode title of all time. If you want to see more Murder, She Wrote reviews from me, I have an egregious amount on this channel, but first, huge thanks to my patrons who support me and my cat's vet bills. Really wish she'd stop eating questionable things. If you want to support me, consider donating a few bucks, and if not, likes and comments really help to share my videos. If you want to see more from me, I have some suggestions. On the right is my holiday special about a bonkers movie called Guess Who's Coming to Christmas, which is in no way related to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Strange. On the left I have my previous episode on Murder, She Wrote. I hope you enjoy them, and as always, I will see you in the next one.